Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder. And we always say we have an eclectic mix of movies this week, but I think it's even more eclectic than normal.
Yes, we got a nice little mixture of cute movies, funny movies, and s- uh, s- uh, strange and really strange in your case.
Yes, uh, we accidentally stumbled into an indie movie, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah. But if you're returning, welcome back. If you're new, what we usually do is we do a bunch of reviews. We'll
Mhm.
usually review something new or newish, and then we'll move into some stuff that we've been watching on our own, and then we get into our classic movie review. But before we do all of that, we'd like to talk about box office.
Yes, which I suppose means I should share my screen. I just got so distracted listening to you, Daniel.
Oh, that's all right. All right, here we go.
So, um, there was a Dune movie that came out over the weekend. Maybe you heard about it.
Yeah, did pretty good.
Yeah, 82 million for
Yeah,
a March release. Not too shabby.
yeah, yeah,
Didn't quite hit the 100 million, but there's always room for growth.
yeah, yes, yeah,
Which,
yeah.
by the way, it has already hit 100 million during the course of the week. I was looking at the dailies, and on a Wednesday it made 6 million. So that's a movie that people are actually rushing out to see.
Yes, indeed. Probably seeing it in IMAX, which I hear is spectacular in that format.
Incidentally, it made roughly about as much on Wednesday as Madam Web did on its opening Valentine's Day release date.
Ooh, ouch.
Speaking of which, Madam Web, I believe you looked it up. As of today, still has not hit $100 million worldwide.
Nope. I think it's like 91.
Oof,
Yeah,
not a
yeah.
good look.
Nope. No, it's Sony's great failure.
Uh, to go with all the others.
Yeah.
Aside from that, everybody it seems knew better than to try to take on Dune Part Two.
Hmm. Yeah.
We still have Bob Marley at number two. Ordinary Angels actually holding on pretty nicely at number three.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, 2 weekends to 12 million is nothing to write home about, but it's showing consistent interest in whatever it is.
Yeah. And good for a nice little low budget indie movie,
Yep.
faith based indie movie. Yeah.
It's your Chosen. Speaking of faith-based indie productions, so we got The Chosen season four, episodes 7 and 8. In
Mhm.
fourth place, Migration refuses to die on its 11 after 11 weeks,
Yeah.
and Demon Slayer is holding on. Considering that it's basically just last episode of the previous season and the next couple episodes of the next season mushed together to fund production costs. I'm guessing, at 15 million for 2 weekends isn't bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of zombie films from the years prior, for the year prior, Wonka, which has crossed 625 million worldwide. I'm so sick of talking about Wonka.
Yeah, I am too. Especially after what happened in Glasgow a couple of weeks ago.
Oh God, I'm amazed that. So, do you think that they were already planning to do that cursed event, or do you think that they were inspired by the success of the movie?
I think they were inspired by the success of the movie. Yeah.
Well, I hope
And
that
then,
everybody involved is ashamed.
yes.
Speaking of shame, in ninth place is Argyle. Has not crossed 50 million in the States and Canada after 5 weekends.
Ew. Well, they should be getting some good money from Apple, I think.
Yeah. So interestingly, I was looking up, I was on Variety earlier, just poking around. Apple claims that, Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon didn't make a whole lot of money in the theaters comparatively.
Yeah.
They claim that the two projects are profitable because they were able to, I guess they were able to just market them heavily in iTunes,
Huh.
and they only just had just hit streaming. So
That's interesting. Hmm.
they said ancillary sources. So I imagine for those, there's well, actually I don't know if there'd be a Blu-ray release for that with Apple involved. They certainly don't sell any computers that have a Blu-ray player.
Uh,
Then rounding out the top 10, we have The Beekeeper, which is sitting at 64 million in the States, just shy of 65.
hmm.
But you know that was not a $200 million movie like Argyle.
No, it was not. Yeah, I had. Although I'm sure Jason Statham got a pretty good payday for it.
And honestly, with that one, I saw that movie and he deserved it.
Hmm.
I, for the type of movie that this actually is, he did a very nice job.
Oh, that's good. Huh.
Let's see here. So yeah, not a too surprising box office. Interestingly, Dune is bigger in the States than the combined international.
Hmm.
Um, Looks like it has not gotten a China release, at least at this point, which is kind of becoming more and more normal. Um, so I think it's interesting that UK is seems to be a bigger movie market than even some European countries that have a bigger population. The last time I checked,
Hmm.
the movie releasing in English is an advantage for that market.
Yeah. Hmm.
Or there might just be more of a culture there around going to the theaters. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to know sometimes.
Yeah, but I'd have to do some research. But to be fair, I only just had the thought right now. So,
Yeah.
all right. I think we're ready to. I think we're ready to stop soft shoeing around the topics of our week, or in this
Yeah.
case, soft shelling.
Soft shell. Yes.
Marcel the Shell with shoes on.
Yeah. You picked this one. Yes.
Yes. So I remember seeing a trailer for this at the movie theater and having the honest thought of, the heck am I watching?
Yeah.
And it's an A24 production, which, with the exception of Everything Everywhere All at Once, which did go on to have like a big long release, um,
Mm,
and like being a pretty big movie and an Oscar winner and everything,
yeah.
uh, they tend to go for more smaller stuff. Uh, and we were looking for something to review, and I saw it was on Netflix, and I said, you know what? Why the heck not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Daniel,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, 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 after you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I started watching it, and I have to admit, I haven't said this to you yet, but I mean, I got like about 15 minutes into this. I was about ready to message you to stop watching it and message you and say, "Can we watch something else?" Because it was just like I didn't know what I was watching. It was this like little talking shell is like an inch tall,
Yep,
and
little stop motion shell going about his daily life in this house.
yeah, and very very high voice, and it's kind of like I'm like, and I actually paused it, and it was about 15 minutes, and I went, oh god, is it like this for 90 minutes? Because I don't know if I could do it, but
Yeah,
uh, but
the
but
answer is sort of.
sort of, yeah. Yeah, but it actually does change a bit. So uh getting into the backstory, Marcel is a talking mollusk shell, and he's living in this Airbnb with his grandma, Nana, and his life is being documented by the guy who's staying at the Airbnb, who happens to be a filmmaker.
Hmm.
And then you get into the story of how like there was a couple that lived in the house, and then uh
Right, Marcel's whole extended family lived with him.
Right. And then but then the couple would start fighting, and they would all kind of do like a shelter in place thing where they'd all go into the sock drawer.
Mhm.
And then but then one night when they had a really bad fight, the guy is like, all right, I've had enough. He empties out the sock drawer into his suitcase with everybody in there except for Marcel and Nana, and then he just leaves. And so now, he's all alone there with his grandmother, and very, very sad.
Yeah, and very, very sad is like melancholy was a word I kept thinking of with this movie.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about this while I was watching this. Like, what is the target demographic for this thing?
Yeah, because I don't think it's really kids. We didn't think it was really kids because it's too, it's there's a lot of this, certainly a lot of adult themes in here, and not adult
Yeah,
like, you know.
right. He does not get freaky with another shell or anything like that.
No, 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 nothing like that.
Like they have references to marijuana use.
Mhm.
Well, reference to marijuana use.
He Marcel talks about the the curly hair in the drain on
Yes,
the, in the
I call them hardy hairs, and he doesn't understand why the filmmaker thinks that this is funny.
yeah.
Because like I would say the strength of this movie is really the visual production.
Mhm.
Because there are times that you can kind of forget that Marcel is a freakish little one-eyed shell with shoes on
Yeah.
as he goes about his like he is his nana go about their day.
Mhm.
Um, like they do things like they have a fake ice skating rink where the shells are just fake skating on a dusty table and like leaving perfect tracks through the dust.
Yeah, yeah, and Marcel opens up a jar of honey on the floor, and he steps
Yeah.
in it, and he walks up on the walls.
And it's kind of it is kind of interesting seeing how he and his nana have constructed things to get around the fact that they don't really have a way of manipulating their environment with hands.
Right, yeah.
It's like they'll have to do things like use. uh, and actually, they do have a kind of a sad moment at one point where he's trying to do something and his light goes out, and he asks the filmmaker to help him, and the filmmaker says, "Well, I can't get involved with the production here, or
Yeah,
I have to keep objectivity." He's like, I often don't get what I need. It's like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah. Yeah, it and of course, and the other part of it too is with Nana is, of course, uh her mind is starting to fail her, and
right.
then there's a, I can't remember when it was when she falls. Was it?
It's like 20 minutes, half hour mark or so.
Yeah, yeah. She falls and chips her shell,
Yep.
and so Marcel is very, is constantly having to look out for her, and
Right. He's extremely paranoid and protective of her.
yeah, um,
And it's I would say that it's actually a very relatable and realistic relationship that the two of them have,
mm,
which sounds strange for two stop motion shells. But
yeah,
where it's like the grandmother is frustrated with him babying her, and she also like she's with it enough to know that she doesn't want him wasting his life. Like she doesn't want to be the excuse for him not to live.
right, yeah, and yeah, and where that comes into play is the fact that, of course, they're trying to find out what happened to their family,
Right.
and they reach out to like the the property management company that run with the Airbnb, and they're like, well, we can't give out client information and all that,
Right.
and they of course, the other part of it too is they bonded over watching 60 Minutes,
Oh, yeah, they just called it the show.
the show. Yeah, and they really, and specifically watching it with Leslie Stahl,
who,
and
who does make a cameo in the movie.
yes, yes, because the the documentarian starts uploading videos of Marcel, onto his YouTube channel, and that's kind of part where the movie came from, because they
Hmm.
did like three shorts on YouTube that were uploaded on there, and I guess they were really popular viral movie
Yeah, like
videos.
the first episode had like 33 million views when I went looking. Uh, which you can, I guess, you can almost tell when the movie was filmed in relation to it because they showed it at 30 million.
Yeah, yeah. I think I remember reading somewhere it took 7 years to make this movie.
Wow, that, I mean, okay. So you, Daniel, you noticed just how many freaking production companies were involved with this thing.
Yeah, there were like 5 or 6 of them. Yeah,
And I will say that, like, this feels like a passion project. This is somebody feeling like they had something to say to the world.
yeah,
I'm just not sure what it was entirely.
yeah. I don't know either.
I guess like the best way to describe it is it's like a meditation on mortality and loneliness, and the way that the voice actress portrays Marcel, she just has this very sad quality to her voice.
Yeah, yeah. I think after I watched this, I kind of made the comparison to Forrest Gump, in a way that, like, of course, the only difference is that Marcel doesn't go off to fight in a war, or meet 3 different U.S. presidents, and
Right. Um, that does kind of remind me though. Like, so from the trailer, you almost got the impression that it was going to be more adventurous with Marcel going out into the world, but he
yeah,
really only goes out once, and he never actually leaves the car.
yeah, and well, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but there is he does go out again at the end of the movie, to another house.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it's yeah, but and I think you pointed it out too, that like it kind of makes sense that they didn't go out that much, because that the production costs would have
Right. Like,
skyrocketed it.
this was already a challenging enough movie to make with just
Yeah,
some of the intricate stop motion, which again, strength of it, it's like a very weird concept executed about as well as you could realistically expect, I think.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
so I guess it's good that places like A24 exist for these artists with their weird visions to make happen.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to watch this again, but I suspect if I did, I would start noticing a lot of little details, like little production details, like little Easter eggs in the background and whatnot.
Yeah, I probably would too. Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of the same way. There were times when I was watching this, I felt like I was watching a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah. No filter with Chris Hicks. No, you have not missed Twins talk. That'll be at the end of the show.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, So
We're talking about Marcel the Shell. Yeah.
Marcel the Shell. Yep.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I we both struggled to think of who we would recommend this movie to,
Yeah.
and I guess the answer would be: do you like kind of melancholy indie films, and you don't mind seeing any, or you're just such a stop motion enthusiast that stop motion by itself is a reason to watch a movie? I don't know that I would. So I'm actually a stop motion enthusiast myself. I consider good stop motion animation something that makes a movie 2 out of 10 better than it would be if it was just live action.
Yeah.
Things like Kubo and the Two Strings.
Mm,
But yeah, I don't know. This one kind of just left me feeling kind of sad and unfulfilled.
mm. Yeah, me too. I mean, there were parts of the movie I liked. I mean, I thought that it was, I thought there were parts of it that I thought were cute, you know,
Mhm.
but overall, yeah, it's just like, yeah.
I will say, the movie surprised me. I was expecting Nana to die within the first 15 to 20 minutes. She did not.
No.
So the movie actually had much more to do with Nana's character than I was expecting. So good on them.
Yes, yeah, and Nana is voiced by Isabella Rossellini. and you don't know who that is. Italian, I believe. She's an Italian
Okay.
actress. She I'm not surprised you've never heard of her. She was in that one David Lynch movie. Not the one with Dennis Hopper. Um, Blue Velvet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that was one of the little funny details. Like, yeah, Grandma has an accent because she came from the garage, which
Yeah.
of course, which then of course asked questions like, "Wait, you're all alone. Does that imply that there are still shells living in the garage?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a garage Adonia border patrol that you're afraid of?"
Yeah. Oh.
Um, Yeah, like this is definitely one of those things where you can't think too hard about the whole shell concept, or else things start breaking down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what else? You know, it hasn't broken down after many years of neglect.
Yes. Yeah. My
Five Nights at Freddy's and animatronics.
yes. Yeah. Five Nights at Freddy's is now on Amazon Prime. I thought I'd give it a watch. Now, full disclosure, I have never played any of the Five Nights at Freddy's games. I don't know anything about the lore. I went into this movie cold. Um,
Well, you didn't watch the thousands upon thousands of game theory videos, so you could know everything about the lore in advance.
no, I did not.
Daniel, what do we pay you for?
I know. Shame on me. Yeah, yeah. Uh, but yeah. So Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie, which came out last year, around Halloween. It was a Blumhouse. I forgot it was actually Blumhouse produced this. It's uh, it's definitely not what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a little more. It's definitely a dark movie. I'll say that.
Hmm.
But it's also I don't know, just very subdued, which I wasn't expecting.
Hmm.
Um, so I'll kind of go briefly through the plot. So the beginning of the movie starts with this unnamed security guard who's working at Freddy's,
Hmm.
and then of course he gets by the animatronics, um, and then we meet Mike, who's played by PETA from the Hunger Games.
Hmm.
And he's taking care of his little sister, who is, I'm guessing, is on the spectrum.
Hmm.
um, and uh, and of course the parents aren't around anymore, so he has to take care of her. And he's working mall security that takes place in the year 2000.
Hmm.
um, and he's working mall security, and he sees a little boy in the mall who's just by himself and kind of looking around, and he's looking at the kid like, what's going on with that kid? And then he sees a guy come up and get the kid and walk off with him, and he automatically, and this kind of goes back to some past trauma with him, uh he assumes it's something bad. He tackles the guy and into the fountain and beats him up, but in reality it's the kid's dad. So then he gets fired. He's at a headhunter trying to find another job, and the career counselor is played by Matthew Lillard, and you immediately get creepy vibes from him. Like there's just something off with him, and looks at Mike's file, and he sees his last name, and he kind of looks at him, and he says, "I got a job for you." And basically it's working the security at nights at Freddy's. And at first he doesn't take the job because he can't work nights because of his sister, but he's uh, being threatened by his aunt. His aunt's trying to get custody of his sister, and
Mm.
his aunt is just a really nasty woman, and so he has to take this job, as the security job at Freddy's, to to kind of show that, hey, he's trying to be responsible and look after his sister, and then of course that's when the proverbial excrement hits the fan, obviously. um
Right. It wouldn't be much of a movie if it was just a series of lonely nights at of security guard work.
right, yeah. So part of the whole thing too is that he tries to have these dreams about this memory from when his younger brother got kidnapped, and they were in the wood, like he was with his parents and his brother, and they were having a picnic in the woods, and then that's when his brother gets taken, and he's going through that memory again because he's trying to see if he can see the guy who took his brother, like see his face.
Hmm.
And so then as soon as he gets into Freddy's and he starts
So
dreaming,
they are, so is this like dreams or like deep therapy or hypnosis or
well, he's taking these sleeping pills.
okay.
Um, so I think it's like some weird like dream stasis thing. Yeah, it's hypnosis thing. I'm not
So
entirely sure.
he's trying to use the same method as Ezekiel from Madam Web to recognize his attacker.
Ah, well, um, but yeah. But then when he gets into Freddy's and he starts dreaming, and then the dreams become more vivid, and he starts seeing these five little kids.
Hmm.
And as you could probably figure out, the five little kids are all in the Freddy's animatronics,
The robots, yes.
the robots. Yeah, and so then he then meets Vanessa, who is a cop, and Freddy's is on her beat, and she knows a lot about Freddy's, more than she's kind of lets on.
Hmm.
Um, and part of that is that she knows that the animatronics are possessed by ghosts of kids. Um, and so then the one night, the Mike has to bring his sister into Freddy's because he can't get a babysitter, because the babysitter was actually working with the aunt to get dirt on him so that
Mm,
she could get custody of the little sister.
gotcha.
Uh, yeah, and what they do is she and her brother and a couple other guys break into Freddy's to trash the place, but then they all get whacked, as you might expect. So he takes her into Freddy's, and then that's when she realizes that, oh, this is the the animatronics are alive, and they're and so that, yeah, then but not to I'll try not to go too beat by beat with the plot, but yeah, like things kind of take a turn really fast, because the the animatronics want the sister to live with them forever, like them. And the the old owner of Freddy's was a really bad guy, and they the reason that the restaurant closed was because these kids went missing, and then they went missing, and then they died, and they got killed, and then their bodies were put into the animatronics.
Which I think matches the lore of the games. I've only played like a few levels of the first one.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
not much for jump scares, but
yeah, there are quite a few, like one of the things that a lot of, especially modern horror movies, do is like a lot of like fake jump scares.
mhm.
And there were quite a few fake jump scares in this, which is gets annoying.
That is very much in the spirit of the games because, like in the game, it's like a resource management thing
Uh,
where it's like, yeah, the first night you can only keep the door closed for so long, and you have to strategically close the door when one of the monsters is coming up. Then the next night, oh, they've added another task, and the third night, oh, they've added another task.
okay,
So
yeah,
it's like it's just basically you're just trying to keep the door shut strategically to keep the robots from coming in and killing you.
yeah, okay. Well, in this one, the robots are very like at first they're really friendly and they just want to have like
Hmm,
fun and everything, but then it starts getting sinister when they get into the dreams and like Mike is like, well, he wants to find out what happens to his brother, and they basically use that against him to try to get the sister.
mhm.
Um, and then it kind of all comes to a head at the end and on the fifth night, and uh, kind of a happy ending, kind of sort of happy ending, but not really. And then obviously they left it open for a sequel, which
Right.
is probably
Because
highly likely. Yeah.
the young millennials and Zoomers just eat this stuff up.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, you know, we were talking about with Marcel, whether we couldn't figure out who the target audience was for it. You definitely know who the target audience for this movie is.
Yeah, like, so a friend of mine, about I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago, it was his niece's birthday, and she was like 16 at the time. I want to say, and
Yeah.
she actually asked to go to Chuck E. Cheese's, and she was so into the lore that she was able to recognize like what era of restaurant they were in.
Oh
Like, oh
wow.
yeah, this is I'm gonna make up this. Oh, this is a B type, which was the ones constructed from da 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 da, and you can tell because of this, that, and the other, and
Hmm. Wow.
it's like people get weird for this game or for this series.
Yeah, it's yeah. For me, I mean, I thought it was okay. I mean, it was uh, you know, um, it's PG-13, so it's not overly violent, like you would expect in a horror movie like this. Um, but I mean, I didn't find it particularly scary. It just
It's
it
more
kept
like
my it
startling at times.
kind of, yeah. I thought the by the way, the twist at the end isn't really a twist. I kind of
Mm.
figured that that was where they were going with it. Um, but I mean, I mean, if you're a fan of the video games, I'm sure you probably love this movie, and if you haven't seen it, you'll like it. For me, it was just kind of, yeah.
This is a thing that I'm watching.
Yeah, yeah, it's a thing I'm watching. People are talking about it, and got to see what all the fuss is.
Yep. So it sounds like it's like a soft recommend if you're in the mood for a horror movie.
Yeah, yeah,
If you're already paying for your free shipping, why not?
yeah, exactly.
Um, trying to think of a good transition here. Yeah,
Um,
screw it. Batman and Harley Quinn. So I have had the DVD Blu-ray combo for this movie for a number of years now. I don't know if I bought it for myself when it was on some sale or if I got it as a gift or something.
mm,
Um, in theory, this feels like it should have been a slam dunk because it's Bruce Timm coming back uh, to write and direct a movie that yeah, I think he directed this one.
mm,
I know he at least co-wrote it, but Bruce Timm, one of the big architects of Batman the animated series and Justice League and all those other shows, coming back to write a story about a character that he helped create and popularize
mhm,
in the form of Harley Quinn. The only problem with this is that one, uh, the really good Harley Quinn stuff is from the pen of one Paul Dini,
mm.
who is not involved with this at all.
Oh,
And the other problem is that uh, this is Bruce Timm circa 2017 writing Harley circa 2017. Uh,
yeah.
this is latter day Bruce Timm who had the brilliant idea. Oh, we're going to take the Killing Joke. I think that if we add the detail that Bruce and Barbara are boning, that'll really add a lot to the stakes of the story. And no, this is not just me writing my fetish into it. Shut up.
Yeah. Yeesh. Yeah.
Um, so I had heard for years that this was bad, but I hadn't. But how to put it? People I'd heard talk about it being bad were also the sorts of people who are like killjoys and were like, oh, one scene in the movie she bends over and the camera checks out her ass, and it's like, Okay, so you're dismissing it because of that. Okay, cool. Because that's the type of person they are, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, Boy, that was controversial when this thing came out. That is the least of this movie's problems. The overall premise of it is it's 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 like they had a really cool idea for a Swamp Thing movie, and they couldn't. Either Bruce Timm couldn't get it made because I think after a couple of movies with these straight to video animated movies that DC would make, they
Yeah.
stopped being interested in anything that didn't have Batman or Superman in it.
Oh, yeah.
So they decided to cram Batman and Robin and Harley Quinn into it.
Mm,
Because the overall premise is that Poison Ivy has teamed up with the Floronic Man, another plant-themed supervillain, and their
mm,
plan is to save the world by making it so that like, combining humans and plants.
yeah.
So they're their
Okay.
usual sort of vague comic book science, eco-terrorism stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and in the opening scene, Batman and Nightwing try to capture them, but the two of them get away, and they decide that they'll go find Harley Quinn because associated with Poison Ivy, just to see if she can figure out where she is.
Yeah.
So this movie is This movie is three things. There's the actually interesting, cool parts, which are mostly involving Poison Ivy and Floronic Man,
Mm,
like because they get into things like the green from the Swamp Thing series. Swamp Thing actually shows up at one point before declaring that he's not actually interested in fighting them and just wanders off again. Um, so that's kind of interesting. There's there's the horny part of the movie. When they find Harley Quinn, she is working at basically superhero Hooters. So you have like girls dressed as Power Girl and Zatanna and things like that. And
yeah.
Harley, of course, is dressed. She is actually kind of dressed not in her real costume. As I recall, it kind of looked more like the sort of tarted up version they had in the Arkham Knights games.
Mm, yeah.
And then the third part of this movie, besides the horny, is the hey, wouldn't it be? Yeah, we've gotten Harley away from the Joker. Wouldn't it be great if she was Deadpool?
No.
No, the answer is no. You're correct.
Yeah.
So this is a movie that they're dealing with some people who I think are like some. There was some DC thing I didn't recognize where um, it was like the equivalent of Marvel's Shield,
Mm,
and Batman gets them to cooperate with him because Batman has dirt on him and what his mistress is up to or something. Like
yeah.
it's that kind of horniness.
Yeah.
They find Harley at this superhero Hooters. She and Nightwing have a fight, and she knocks him out because this version of Harley Quinn is the world's greatest fighter for some reason. When I don't really recall that being her thing from the Batman the Animated Series,
Yeah. I don't either.
but it's like part of her lore now that she's a hyper good fighter. And
Mm.
he wakes up, and she demands to know why he's after her, and then they proceed to bone.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you had Nightwing and Harley Quinn on your shipping bingo, then there you go.
Oh.
And what's weird about this movie, and then it's just a few scenes of them trying to, a few scenes in a row of them trying to track down Ivy.
Mm,
Here's the weird thing. Um, Considering that this is one of the creators of Harley Quinn, or at least somebody who was heavily involved in her creation, it's like he has no idea how to write her
hmm.
because she just ping pongs all over the place. You're not sure what the mood is actually supposed to be.
Mm,
Like, is this movie just a pure comedy? Because like they have a lot of scenes that are supposed to be wacky, and they really aren't.
yeah.
It's like that's just needlessly cruel. Like there's a scene where she spots somebody and she jumps out of the Batmobile and chases him down. And I don't recall why. Like it's like he just wronged her in some minor way that was unrelated to the rest of the plot.
Oh, jeez.
There's another bit where they show up at some villain bar with a lot of deep cuts for Batman the Animated Series characters, like minor villains you wouldn't expect to
Mhm.
see there. And she proceeds to sing a song in costume for 2 minutes for no reason. I feel like they had like a half-hour episode of Batman or of Swamp Thing, and they felt the need to like extend it to make it a actual semi movie length.
Yeah.
Um, it's like, but like then you have scenes where somebody like a mad scientist who the Floronic Man and Poison Ivy were mind controlling to help them out breaks control long enough to try to sabotage them, but they manage to get away. But he's mortally wounded, and Harley proceeds to like, "Hey, when you get to heaven, tell him you look up my nan nan such and such Isley. Yeah, she's a good girl. I think you really like her." It's like, why are we having an attempt at a dramatic death scene here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, Harley is just like most modern productions, the weakness of this movie.
Mm.
Batman is also weirdly out of character because the Batman from Batman the Animated Series, I cannot see him tolerating this version of Harley on the mission as much as he does.
Yeah. Yeah. I seem to recall an episode of the animated series where Joker's doing something, and then Batman has to get her out of Arkham, and she's like goofing around in the Batmobile, and he just chews her out like, "Don't you do anything, say anything, or right? You got
Yeah,
it."
yeah. I thought that's how he should have responded in all these situations.
Yeah.
But like he has to go along with it, or else she would actually serious up.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, I believe Nightwing's original voice actor is back, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Good on him for getting a paycheck, I guess.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is that so at the end, the movie doesn't really end because the ending of the movie is Poison Ivy has switched sides, and Floronic Man is about to unleash this stuff that will turn the whole world into human plant hybrids. And the what's interesting is that uh, it's like it's unstable. Like they haven't quite worked out the kinks, and so it could very well kill everybody. And okay, so Poison Ivy is a little bit insane,
Mm.
but I think that she is rational enough to go, "Oh, we haven't quite worked out the kinks yet. Okay, we're not in a particular rush. Let's kidnap another scientist and figure this out."
Yeah.
But no, so the movie can happen. She has to be in a rush, and as does Floronic Man.
Yeah.
But I think Ivy switches sides, and I'm not worried about spoiling this movie because again, it's a non-ending.
Mm.
And Floronic Man is like about to fight them, and Harley has the idea of, oh well, if plants don't like fire. And then you cut to the credits after I think Nightwing and Batman kiss her on the cheek, like after she has this brilliant idea. It's been a couple weeks since I saw it, but
No. Jeez.
so you cut to the credits, and then the credits stop, and you see Floronic Man running through the Louisiana bayou, wreathed in flames, like. "Argh!" Then you cut back to the credits, and then they have a weird thing where it's like poison. It's like Harley is in her Dr. Pamela Isley persona. Although I think they make
Oh,
a point that she Pamela Isley,
Harley,
Dr.
Harley Quinzel. Yeah.
Harleen Quinzel, excuse me. I was thinking of Poison Ivy there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she's
Sorry.
back in her actual doctor persona, even though she makes the point that she no longer has a license. And like
Like
it looks like
Like
she's
Dr. Phil.
yeah, it looks like she's doing a Dr. Phil thing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it turns into American Ninja or
Okay.
Ninja Warrior, where this guy, I think the premise is like in order for this guy to get therapy, he has to beat this gauntlet of prizes.
Oh.
And that's the end of the movie. Like that was like a post-credit gag that they tacked on. I don't think with the credits that this thing quite hit 90 minutes.
Jeez.
Um, Now, as far as the voice acting cast, it is Kevin Conroy, but it is like late stage Kevin Conroy. So
Mm.
like he never quite sounded how to put it. His voice had definitely aged, in my
Mm.
opinion,
Yeah.
towards the end. Unfortunately, he didn't ever quite sound the same to me as he did back in the day.
Yeah.
I have to give a special anti shout out to the voice actress they got for Harley Quinn, because it was not her originating actress.
Oh, it wasn't, huh?
No, even though she was still alive at this point. I don't know if they just couldn't make it happen or what, but it was Melissa Rauch, or Rauch, depending on how you pronounce it.
Mm,
She is not a major actress as far as I can tell.
mm.
Uh, she's done a few voice acting or roles in a few like movies and TV shows I've never heard of. She is the lead in the new Night Court TV show, so take that for what you will.
Mm, mm.
Um, she was Bernadette in The Big Bang Theory. Okay,
Oh, I know her. Yeah, she's like the blonde
yeah,
with the big yeah.
yeah. Uh, unfortunately, she's kind of doing her best impression of what's her name, who originated the role.
Oh, Sorkin?
Yeah, of
Oh,
Sorkin.
yeah.
She doesn't really do it justice, but she's also just given completely dog shit material to work with. So it's like, is she the problem, or is it the fact that she's being asked to play a completely inconsistent and stupid character the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say I'd always heard this was bad. I decided to get it off the to watch list after many years of owning the disc. I don't know that I'm going to continue owning the disc after my next run to half price books.
Dump it off here. Take it.
Yep. Yeah, give me my 50 cents. I value it more than having this on my shelf.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Batman and Harley Quinn, like any Harley Quinn media made after like 2005, probably worth skipping.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. That's not surprising, but still unfortunate.
Yes. Trying to think s- of a transition here.
Uh,
Speaking about movies that feature mad science in the background and are kind of inconsistent with their world building,
there you go.
we got Twins.
Twins, yes.
So I think I mentioned a few weeks back on the Burbs that I had never actually seen the movie, but I had seen that cover of Tom Hanks looking kind of distressed.
Right, yeah.
And I also mentioned that if it involved boobs, explosions, or blood, I probably didn't get to see it as a kid or watch it at home. Uh,
Yeah.
this is definitely in that category. Like I saw this so many times over the years, and young me was always confused about it because I kind of didn't get the joke.
Yeah. 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 How could Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito be twin brothers?
Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
I forget this was your suggestion or if I said "Eh, I never saw Twins. Why not?
I think it was, yeah, you hadn't seen it and I'm like, yeah, I hadn't watched it in a long time. So yeah, it was
Yep.
good suggestion. Yeah.
Yep. So Daniel, tell them about this movie.
Okay, so Arnold Schwarzenegger plays Julius, and we learned that he was the product of a genetic experiment to make like to merge like five different men and impregnate one woman, and he's supposed to be like this like superior human, with and very intelligent, very strong, and all that good stuff.
Very morally perfect.
Right. Yeah. And but then as a byproduct of that, he actually ended up with a twin brother who didn't get all of those genetics.
Yeah,
uh,
we find this out later in the movie that they split their zygotes split at some point.
yeah.
All the good stuff went to Arnold. All the shit went to Danny.
Went into Danny. Yeah.
Which
Yeah. So
that is not how identical twins work. That isn't even how fraternal twins work.
yeah. But yeah. So we got Danny DeVito, who's oh god, what is his name? Um,
You can
uh,
just call him Danny if you can't think of it. I can't think of it either, even though that was the name that was said the most often during the movie.
yeah, it starts with a V. but yeah,
Was it Vinny?
Vin, something like that.
You
Yeah.
know what? You keep going. I'm going to confirm for us.
Okay. And so Julius is told about his brother because he's living on this tropical island. What he said was like 300 miles southwest of Fiji, and
Yeah, like this tropical paradise.
right, and so against the advice of some people of the scientists that he's working with. He wants to go to L.A. To find his brother, and because he has like kind of like yeah. So I've heard this about twins, that they have this kind of like especially with identical twins, they have this like connection, like one like they're like empathic connection where like one of them knows when the other one's sad or the other one's happy or if they're in trouble or
Right.
I don't know the validity of that. um
Yeah, it seems like one of those things where it's probably based on anecdote and uh, but you know what? That we've already violated a bunch of science in this movie. We might as well have that be the reason.
right, yeah, yeah. So he goes to LA, and then we meet Danny DeVito's character, and we find out he's basically a small time crook.
Right.
Yeah, he's
His preferred swindle is he has a friend who works at a parking garage, and somehow this hasn't been discovered yet. He just lets Danny go in there periodically and steal a car.
yeah, yeah. You would think after a while, like the police would be catching on to that.
Right? Huh? You know, there seems to be an unusual quantity of theft at this particular parking garage.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but Vincent's his name.
Yes.
Yeah. So Vincent, and the other part of it too is he owes money to these loan sharks. There's these three brothers. He owes 20 grand to them, and he's doing everything he can. He's begging, borrowing, and scraping to try to pay these guys off, including getting money from his girlfriend. And I can't remember the name of the actress who plays his girlfriend, but then she has a sister who's
Chloe Webb.
Chloe Webb. Okay. Yeah, I remember her from Ghostbusters too. She's the one who thought the world was going to end on like what was like February 14th, 1989 or whatever, and Venkman says Valentine's Day. Bummer. um, but yeah, and her sister is played by Kelly Preston, the late Kelly Preston.
Hmm.
Um, and so when Arnold gets Julius gets to LA, he's just basically spends the whole day wandering around Hollywood.
Yeah, and that's some cute gags. Like it's funny.
Yeah,
It's like he bought something at every single food stand he went to.
yeah,
Like
and
he gets like a pita and
a hot dog. Yeah,
right, and ice cream and
yeah. Then he there's even a part in there where he walks by a Rambo poster and he kind of looks at it and you're like,
compares
yeah,
his arms muscles and decides that he looks better.
yeah, yeah,
That was cute.
yeah. Um, and then yeah, there's definitely the fish out of water stuff with Julius, as you would expect.
Right, he's just a
Uh,
sweet summer child who can just happen to bench press a small car.
yes, and then I'm trying to remember how he finds out about Vincent. I guess he's trying to trying to remember what that was. He goes to the orphanage, right? Or he
Right, he goes to the orphanage. You find out that Vincent got kicked out of the orphanage when he deflowered one of the nuns at the age of 13.
yeah, yeah. um, and yeah, and I can't remember what they were talking about biology, and he said, and he's like, oh, I love biology. And you're like, yeah, so did Vincent.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know, maybe it's just the whole nun thing, but I realized that the movie that we've reviewed that this reminded me the most of was really Blues Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, very similar. Yeah. Um,
Like because just because you have this brother thing in an offbeat comedy, and that's like a, although I'd say does this have more of a through line than Blues Brothers? I'd say this is less. Yeah, like there aren't as many random one-off scenes. Like things do, like go into like this causes that, causes that, causes that much
r-
more.
right. Yeah. In at least in this movie, Danny DeVito's girlfriend isn't trying to kill him.
Yes, yes, that'll be in Twins too if they ever make it.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, like, so there's a few threads in this movie. It's you I would say the driving force of the movie, and Danny DeVito seems to play this character a lot.
yeah.
Is the guy who is extremely bitter about life and is trying to either prove himself or improve his circumstances, and drives everybody around him away in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he seems to be very good at it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But but yeah, and of course, what I really like too, the kind of the cute parts of it is like it's very hard to, like I was saying, it's kind of hard to imagine, these two guys being twin brothers, but you'll see throughout the movie they'll like do stuff exactly the same way. Like they sit
Right.
down, they eat dinner, they turn their plates the same way, and they,
Right.
yeah,
They'll scratch you. They'll scratch their asses at the same time
yeah,
in the same way.
yeah. They go to use the urinal, and they flush the urinal, both flush the urinal before they start peeing, and
Yep.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, it's like so like that's one thing is Danny's inferiority complex. Julius, I would say, is actually kind of a complete character already. He's mostly just there because he wants to help Vinny, or he wants to help his brother Vincent. He wants to find his mom, wants to find out more about themselves.
right. Yeah, and it actually, and I kind of got the feeling too that it takes him a little while. It takes Vincent a little while to actually be convinced that they are actually brothers.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because for a while he's just kind of thinks. I think, he kind of thinks, oh, this is just some weird guy with an accent, and he's
I could just use him for some money.
right. Yeah, and but then, when they go to New Mexico, and they actually meet one of the doctors who worked on the project, and he said, "Oh, Vincent," and he's like, "How do you know my name?" "Well, I'm the one who named you."
Yeah. Let's see here, the other through line is one of the star. Julius is tricked into helping Vinny or Vincent steal a car, and
Yeah,
that car happened to have a mystery device that a mystery buyer is willing to spend quite a bit of money for.
yeah. I think it was like a jet engine or something
Right,
like that. Yeah,
right, a new experimental jet engine, and the person who was supposed to pick that up and get $20 million is going on a minor rampage in the background the whole time.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Even yeah,
he even kills his bosses because his bosses actually see him in person. It's like, asshole, you're the one who went to see them.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, and yeah. So yeah, they have to take the jet engine to Houston, um,
Mhm.
and that's where the whole road trip part of it comes in. And they go to New Mexico. And of course, they take the sisters with them, and of course, and Kelly Preston, of course, is just completely enamored with Arnold. As
Right,
yeah,
understandably so.
yeah,
Oh, the guy who played the criminal assassin guy,
yeah.
he was actually a general in Starship Troopers too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was the shell shocked one. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought he looked familiar. Yeah, he's one of I think he's one of those character actors that just pops
right.
up in movies.
Gets around.
Yeah. Um but yeah, so then they get a lead on where their mom is, and they find this like artist commune that's in her name, and they meet an old lady who, tells them that no, she passed away, but it's actually her. And
Right. And I thought that was blatantly obvious that was going to be her.
yeah, yeah. um but yeah, and then, of course, when they don't find their mom, and then Vincent Danny DeVito gets mad, and then he just hops in the car and drives to Houston and ditches them.
Yeah, just out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
Uh, Vincent is kind of an asshole. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
there is no, you know what, take out the kind of. Vincent is just an asshole.
Yes, he is. Yeah,
I think this movie is mostly his character growth.
it is. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, him going from being the asshole crook to actually being kind of somewhat respectable.
Yes. And yeah, so it eventually ends in a Vincent is left with the choice of do I keep the money or do I help my brother
Yeah,
get out of this mess that I have put him in?
yeah, and he makes the right choice, and helps his brother out, and well, what's funny is they're at their office, and like, well, we too bad we couldn't keep those, that $4 million when it was actually five.
Yeah.
$4 million, just yeah,
Yeah, he's still kind of a scumbag.
yeah.
Um, so interesting things about this movie, just from like a larger perspective.
Mhm.
Um, so apparently, to make this movie, Ivan Reitman, the producer, uh, Schwarzenegger and DeVito, all did not. They did not actually get their usual salary for the movie, and instead they made the movie for between the three of them a 40% cut of the back end and video rentals and sales.
Mm.
Schwarzenegger, it was either Schwarzenegger or DeVito said that that choice was the wisest financial decision of their careers because apparently they may have made more money off of this than anything else they ever made. Because
Wow.
like in 1989,
80,
1980,
yeah, 80, 88, 89, yeah.
yeah, yeah, for a movie made in that era, they made this thing brought in 200 million worldwide.
Mm. That's that's a good payday from back
Yeah,
then. Yeah,
you do the back of the envelope math. 40% of that between the three of them. That
yeah,
okay? Yeah, probably like 40 million between the three of them when you consider distributor costs and everything.
yeah, yeah,
But but still, like that's good on them.
yeah, yeah.
I now I was actually rather surprised that this came out in '88. Just looking at it, because one of my feelings about it was that it looked and sounded kind of cheap the whole way along.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah,
maybe it was just the transfer they had on Netflix, but it wasn't very good film quality.
yeah. It might have been the transfer. Yeah, yeah. So some of those some movies from like the 70s and 80s and even the 90s, the HD transfers haven't been great.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah,
Like I would say that this thing kind of looked worse in some places than Death Wish, which 19 uh,
75. Yeah,
yeah
74. Yeah.
early 70s. So um, I also kind of noticed that this thing you could have almost made this a TV movie if you hadn't had such big name actors in it.
Yeah, it is a very uh what's the term for it? Like, simple story, very
Hmm.
simple plot. It could almost be a pilot for a sitcom.
Yeah, that right. I mean, different actors like that it could have totally worked as the basis for that because you do have an ongoing story with them that you could tell.
Yeah.
I say the character I feel the worst for is his girlfriend, is Vincent's girlfriend because
Yeah.
poor long suffering fool.
Yeah.
You know what bad movie this actually kind of reminded me of was I think it was Deck the Halls, the one where DeVito was opposite of Tom or of what's his name, who was he was old Simba and he was Ferris Bueller,
Well, Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick. That is a movie that for some reason my family breaks out every couple of years. I don't understand why. It's not a great movie, but it continues the trend of in that one he was married to Kristen Chenoweth. Like he he keeps playing asshole characters who drive everyone in their lives away from them, and he keeps being inexplicably paired up with blondes who are so far out of his league.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of an amusing parallel. But I would say that for my actual enjoyment of it, I would kind of classify it similarly to how I did Blues Brothers, where like it didn't have the highest batting average for me, but
Yeah.
I felt like its heart was in the right place, and there were a lot of cute moments.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah. And it also proves that Schwarzenegger can do comedy, because I think this is his first comedy.
I think I read that too.
Yeah.
Although I'd say that he kind of, how to put it. So you know how like with the Naked Gun movies and Airplane and everything, Leslie Nielsen was funny because he wasn't really acting funny.
Right. He was being serious. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say that Schwarzenegger's character, I don't really recall any moment where he was being funny on purpose. It's like a
Yeah.
lot of the moments where he was funny because he was just being utterly sincere.
Yeah. Although I think I think he was funnier in True Lies than in this one.
Oh yeah, well, True Lies, he was trying to be funny on purpose. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
this is this is I guess it's his first comedy, so like
Yeah.
eh, when I looked things up about this movie, he kind of called this a bet on himself that he could do things besides action,
Mm.
and it clearly paid off.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Other amusing things. What is it with 80s movies and their obsession with country western bars? Because we get another one.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Uh,
Let's see. So I mean, so far we've had Blues Brothers and
48
48
hours.
Hours.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are others that we're forgetting in our recent cavalcade of 80s movies, but it's a
Yeah.
recurring trend.
Yeah, I don't know the yeah, I don't know the specific reason why they kept doing that. It's probably just,
Trying to seem popular with what was popular at the time. I don't know.
I guess, yeah, yeah. Maybe trying to get more people in the South to watch the movie, go see movies.
There we go. That could have
Yeah,
been it.
yeah,
Um, probably my uh, one thing I will say, like one of the things that was one of the funniest things was how they took out the villain
oh yeah,
because it's a perfect example of like a brick joke.
yeah,
So so it's like like the rule, comedy rule of three. You tell the joke three times. It's funniest on the third time. Then every time after that, it just like you get diminishing returns. But then
yeah,
there's like this weird thing, like if you keep going on like the 20th try,
yeah,
it starts becoming funny again just because of how pitiful the attempts are.
yeah,
That's basically the way they killed the villain in this movie was that like they dropped a like they hit a button, dropped a hook with a chain attached on his head.
yeah,
It's like, okay, so he's been knocked out. And then the chain keeps coming down. And then the chain keeps coming down. And then
yeah,
the chain keeps coming down. And by the time it's done, you have like an 8-foot pile of chains that's entirely covered his body.
yeah, yeah. Whew, he's not getting up from that.
No.
Yeah,
I thought that was the best gag in the movie just because it was so unexpected.
yeah, yeah.
Um, what would you say your favorite scene was?
Um, let's see. Actually, probably when Arnold's walking around Hollywood, and he's obviously being mugged, and the
Yeah.
guy coming up on the motorcycle tries to steal his briefcase, and he doesn't, yeah, he's
Yeah.
just so strong, he doesn't let it go, and then the guy falls back, and he's actually being really nice to him, like, oh, are you okay? Oh, yeah.
Let me carry you to a hospital.
Yeah, yeah. He's actually like, oh, I'm really sorry.
Yes. Yeah, so like if I had like any complaints about the plot of this movie is that like every movie gets its kind of base premise, but I did start wondering at some point, like, okay, so you invest all this money to make Arnold the perfect human being. Are there more perfect human beings you've tried to make? Why do you just have him on this island in Fiji where he's not actually accomplishing anything?
Yeah,
If the government was trying to create the perfect human being, why isn't he, I don't know, Captain America or something?
yeah, yeah.
Did the
Yeah,
funding fall through, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That never gets quite explained, but yeah,
Right. It's an 80s comedy. Like they're not thinking that far about it.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. So I would say that I'll probably give this a C for my enjoyment, but I know that 80s comedy often hits me less than some people.
mm,
Um, so I would say that for most people, they would probably enjoy this more than I did.
yeah. I give it. I would give it a B minus. Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah,
I guess that explains why it's been a while since you've seen it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a very creative movie. And by the way, I looked up Ivan Reitman's filmography. I knew
Yeah.
about Ghostbusters and a couple others. Guy had an extremely wide and varied career. I kept being shocked at the stuff he was involved in.
Yeah, I mean, he did I mean, he directed Stripes.
Right. Let's see, what were the surprising ones?
I know he worked on, I know he worked on Animal House. Um,
Uh, He did 6 Days, 7 Nights, which not
right.
a comedy, to the best of my knowledge.
Kind of a comedy, I think.
Okay, never actually seen it, but
Yeah, I haven't either. And he did Evolution, which I think is a very underrated movie.
see, okay, I was gonna say, like, wait, he was involved with Evolution? I loved Evolution when I was a teen.
Yeah, yeah, I did too. Yeah.
He also was involved with My Super Ex-Girlfriend.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like, let's see, kindergarten, and of course, it made sense that he kept being, or he kept doing stuff with Schwarzenegger. Like they did Kindergarten Cop together, then Junior.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Um, Also, I didn't realize that he was responsible for Dave, which
Oh, yeah.
that's when I saw half of when I was 10. So maybe that should be a review we do sometime, just because it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never seen that movie all the way through. I've seen parts of it. Yeah, yeah, that's the one where Kevin Kline, he looks like the president of the United States, and then
Right.
yeah,
The
and then
president's like is taken out by, or he's like has some sort of surgery go bad or something, and they need to pretend that he's the president.
right, yeah,
It's sort of a modern take on the Prince and the Pauper.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, as far as twins, I think we've said our piece on twins.
Yes, I think so too.
A perfectly enjoyable, silly movie.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring the bell, all that good
Uh,
stuff.
Yep, all the algo friendly things.
Yes, and we'll see you next week. Good night,
Yep, later,
everybody.
guys.